I need to reset my computer then. Good. Let us go ahead. Gerard, over to you.
Thank you, Mani, and good afternoon, team. I'll give a few seconds for a silent prayer. A good day, team, and very welcome to this session. The session is for the universities for Mozambique, and we'll discuss project management. But before we go on with that, let's get to the safety. So be here now, position yourself, get perception what is needed. This is very important to acquaint yourself of what is needed. So yes, this is a UM lecture, as we've done once a month, and we welcome everybody in the session. About safety and safety fundamentals, this is very important in a nuclear environment, and also to demonstrate a safety culture, a nuclear safety culture. So the fundamentals is a fundamental safety objective and principles of protection of safety and provide a basis for safety requirements. So if we look at the safety requirements, safety requirements is integrated in the safety fundamentals. The requirements are governed by the objective and principles of the safety fundamentals. So it's very important to take cognizance of the safety requirements, especially in the nuclear fraternity, and also when the requirements are not met, measures must be taken to reach or restore the required level of safety. The format and style of the requirements facilitate their use for the established in harmonizing manner and of the national regulatory framework. And the regulatory framework as depicted by the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Association, and for each country's regulatory body. Talking about the regulatory body, international control by the IAEA, and each country with nuclear affiliated with the IAEA, like NEA and the National Nuclear Regulator of South Africa, and also other countries. So it's very important, and in the support of the development of small modular reactors and the small modular reactor technology. But we're going to talk wider than just nuclear. So in nuclear, we need to collaborate, engage, and assist each other in the project going forward. But let's go and say, what is a mega project? So if we go into the definition, mega projects are huge infrastructure projects that are crucial to the development of power plants, nuclear power plants, cities, towns, communities, industries, individual livelihoods. So very important to that is mega projects usually have multiple stakeholders, take many years to complete and involve a huge amount of risk. So therefore, we need to plan in detail beforehand of what's needed in a mega project. Learning about large-scale project can help you understand how operations work and elements to consider when implementing them. So here's a bird's eye view of a complex projects with integration and interfaces. And you can see of the amount of work, the material, the sequencing of events and the controlling of it, but we'll get to that also just now. So again, what is a mega project? It's a large-scale operations that takes many years to complete. It represents complex infrastructure that usually have an economic, social, and cultural impact on society. Okay. Their impact could stem from their size, design, and purpose. They also differ from other construction projects in that they cost a lot of money to build and have a high public and private stakeholder involvement. So that is also very important that we take cognizance of. The public need to know it, and also the private stakeholder involved, and we'll get to those stakeholders just now. The large-scale projects are becoming a preferred delivery model for goods and services across several industries. This is also very important. Different industries, different disciplines of what's needed in a big project, and how do you coordinate that? How do you collaborate with that? How do you planning with it? And then also define those industries. So industries that use mega projects is like information technology, engineering, corporate business, enterprise, industrial process plants, aviation companies, utility companies, government systems, and many more to that. So, but therefore, we need multiple leaders and teams to manage different phases of the project. And that is what I want to focus on, and that we need to see what is needed in a big project like this. Why are we doing it? It's about Moswelli's technology, a pebble small modular reactors, and that is also rolling out into a country that can become a big project, and a program management and portfolio management regarding the different aspects of it. So just in a nuclear environment is to coordinate the industry to provide the system structure components for a nuclear power plant, the construction of it, the site preparation, the security, all the supporting infrastructure, the buildings, and so forth. But we'll get to the non-nuclear infrastructure also just now. But what is Moswelli about? Moswelli Nuclear Engineering, what we do, like nuclear regulations, manufacturing process, plant manufacturing process, the pebble type of production energy, small modular reactors, the construction of it, design of engineering systems, and nuclear hydro design and construction. And what we offer is design, manufacturing, construction, assembly, training, commissioning, operate, maintenance, decommissioning, and over and above all of that is the project management of project management, and to establish all of these, what's needed. So this picture, we've showed you the diagram of the process from the left-hand side, heat generation, transfer heat to steam generator, and the steam to the steam turbine, driving the generator, and then the electricity to the grid. And what is needed in all of these aspects regarding the Moswelli power plant layout. So therefore, we've got the product, the Moswelli reactor with a steam generator, and then our safety feature is our fuel and the pebble fuel, and how it's manufactured and composed of is a great deal of our Moswelli safety features of a Moswelli MHDR 100 power plant. That's a layout of a nuclear power plant, and it's about the size of a soccer field. And here you can see the power module 1 and 2. That is a nuclear island where the reactors are vested in, and then the conventional island, the steam generator, balance of plant, external to the nuclear island, and the supporting equipment to it from the electrical building and high voltage transformers and so forth. And all of these are very important and influence in the nuclear licensing process. There's a topic on its own. So looking at this diagram, on the left-hand side is a Moswelli nuclear power plant, and on the right-hand side is a non-nuclear infrastructure, the Moswelli land, the village, the training center, hospital, all that is in support of the nuclear power plant. The nuclear power plant can't operate if there's no support of the necessary supporting people and operating people. So therefore, we need to have a EIA study for the site, nuclear and non-nuclear, depending on Moswelli land is it a greenfield or brownfield. So there's the nuclear power plant, and the Moswelli land. How does a landscape architecture look like, and what's needed in that area? And we'll discuss it also just now. But what's needed for a program and a process? What is the agreement? The approval of the project charter, the kickoff of the project, the preparatory phase, agreement with the site owner, Department of Environmental Affairs, the local authorities, the National Nuclear Regulatory Body, the government instances like ANIA, NEPIA, I9R, the geotech studies. And as I said just now, is it a greenfield infrastructure development or a brownfield? And in the National Nuclear Development Program, the NEPIA, the phases, going through the phases and so on, and also the transparency and the visibility that's needed for that. So going forward and to say, what is needed in a project management? So we need to have the project business meeting, the vision, cash flow, implementation. How does the schedule look like? Coming back to collaboration, the budget. How do you manage this project? And the project documentation. What is the strategy? Who is the client? And the time management. And very important is the definition of the team, what's necessary of the project team and the different disciplines there. And then how do we develop it? Analytics, workflow, objectives, decision making, and closing the circle of the project management. So therefore, we need the engineering project management team. And this is what we want to portray to you as in universities, to say that we need, in a project like this, all kinds of knowledge and disciplines, not just engineering. Engineering is one big component of it, and project management and construction management engineering are crucial in it. But wider than that, we need all different type of persons to contribute to a project and a mega project. Getting to the stakeholders, that's from the country management, the NEPIO, infrastructure, regulator, the industry, the environmental impact assessment, electricity grid, transportation, roads, infrastructure. If you do a mega project, the financial institutions in a country, social development, public participation, the country mining, country water sanitation, health and safety, import, export, and what's the neighboring countries. And then very important to that is the education and the universities. All of these contribute to the preparation for the long term. As we said just now, a project can overlap in many years, but we need to be prepared and to define what's needed to be done. If we look at the Nuclear Program Implementation Agency, the NEPIA, the NEPIO Director, Nuclear Power Plant Implementation Agency, NEPIA, the electricity market study, the public consultation, what's needed on that, all of that, and to get the planning and consent process, environmental assessment, the economics to it, infrastructure development costs, plant costs, operation costs, fuel cycle, industrial benefits, localization. As we said on the previous one, there's many to that. So what's needed on our legal aspects, the international, the nuclear laws, international agreements, establishment of that laws, regulatory body, environmental laws, commercial laws, the nuclear site, the rezoning of a nuclear site to become a national key point, the nuclear power plant construction, licensing, operation, waste management, decommissioning, and also many more to that. Just a few examples of what's needed. What is the resources needed, like landscape architecture, water, sewer, stormwater treatment plants, town planning, town articulation, the town supporting infrastructure, the training center, the hotel, the schools, the housing, the business mall, the club, recreation environment, legal permit requirements, environmental requirements, health and safety, security, zoning process, permit of agreements, financial and tax implications, social responsibilities, public participation. And so we can go on. And what's needed to establish a grid and microgrid studies. So what's needed in this infrastructure? The different landscape architecture for each of the big projects that you want to execute. Do the planning for it and what's needed and what's the dependencies. So we need the knowledge management in the nuclear project, but not just the nuclear projects, any other project. What's needed for the integration, technology, scope, time, cost, quality, human resources development, communication, stakeholders, interest parties, risk, supply chain, industry development, procurement. Very important to have that in time. And In nuclear, it's also part of the licensing process. Lessons learned, operating experience, licensing, emergency planning, response, security and safeguards. And what's the influence on a nuclear licensing process? So going further, just coming back to the Pebble Small modular reactor, what's needed for the reactor itself, and the nuclear island, the components to that, the system structure components, and how do you integrate it, an integration and management model, a 3D model, but it is also accountable if you want to create a design for a reservoir or a big dam or buildings, what the case may be. So coming back to what is a project and what's the different project roles. So project have a crucial role in the growth of survival of organizations. So there's a series of tasks or time-bound, generate a specific outcome and operate under predetermined constraints such as scope, timeline, and budget. All of these is very important to collate in that information to a project, especially with the to create a unique product, service, or result. And from it, simple to complex, it can consist of a handful of team members or 100. So this is also important of the different resources, the different teams that we need in different projects. So a project differs from other work efforts, which are essentially everything else that you can complete while on the job. General work include business activities like responding to emails, daily tasks, working with colleagues, and lower effort requests. Although routine work isn't a project, it still makes use of deadlines, collaboration efforts, and leadership from management. Knowing the difference between a project and routine work lets you determine the degree of control and oversight to apply the initiative. So all of us need to take cognizance of what's needed, where do you fit in, and how can you apply your knowledge into the project. So large-scale projects include anything from sewer, water supply system, dams, airports, hospitals, wind farms, logistics systems, supply chain companies, container cruise ships, offshore oil, gas, aluminium smelters or other smelters, motorways, railway systems, and then nuclear power plants, national health systems, ICT systems, large-scale signature architecture, and how does it fit into the country and the development of the country and the development plan for a country. And we need to work together as a team. So we get into the organization elements of the different projects. The business planning, pre-project planning, project execution, facility operations. How do the project lifecycle alignment, the business, the project management operations, and the cross-organization alignment. And it's from a top-bottom to bottom alignment from executive, business, project, functional. So we need to have a well-aligned organization and project. And that is part of the business case project alignment. So if we've got multi-projects, for instance, within Mosweli projects, and each of those projects can differ from objectives and goals. And to have that in place and know what's needed, and then also what's the teams and the acknowledgement teams that we need in these projects going forward, and the definition of that. So again, the project management, the circle of that, the engineering project management, the teams that's needed. Sorry for this. So in large scale, resources likely come from different sources and suppliers. Be sure to coordinate your resources to ensure you receive them on time and prevent project delays. Once you have your resources, delegate them to the different project management teams so that they can progress with their operations. But very important to that is time and schedule for the different projects and how do they all coincide. So everything that's needed, people, the management of people, the procurement, material, man-machine material. So we need to know what is the objective and the scope of it. The communication strategy. What is the project management processes? In a communication strategy, there are several individuals involved in the designing, development, and implementation of these projects. Effective communication is essential between the management stakeholders, team leads, laborers, and engineering squads to ensure that the project proceeds as planned. And we need to come to the management processes and what's needed to determine the most efficient way to complete it. And very important is to communicate any change in management strategy to the team members so that they understand and what's to be expected. And that's part of the objective and the scope. Large-scale projects, since there is a massive amount of investment involved in a large-scale project, they usually consider high-risk undertakings. So we need to know what's the steps you can take to mitigate the risk and guarantee success upon the final outcome. And if you look at this picture, and that's a very important to, how do you integrate interface? What's the process in assembling of it? Or different projects. What's needed in the different projects and their challenges, objectives, and goals. So we need to stay on schedule and budget. Varying of schedule and budget can lead to poor execution of a project. We need to motivate team members to increase their productivity and prevent change of delays causing severe problems. Sustainability. Large-scale projects, good sustainability can maintain a function or operations at a certain level after completion. It means it requires less maintenance to keep the infrastructure in working condition, reducing long-term cost. So we're going back to the design, project planning, and the outcome of it. And what is the sustainability of the project impact on the environment? And that is from the start of the project up to handover, and then after handover, the operation of the objective, and what's the influence on the environment, and to maintain an ecological balance. And then also requires you to consider wildlife population, pollution, or waste runoff, or other potential damaging effects. And that you need to define in your pre-project work, your preparation work, before you start with the project. Scheduling is very important to that on the different levels and the different projects. you need to, and also within that is location and training sessions and information transfer, communication. All of that need to be on a schedule and to say what's needed. So set realistic timelines. Setting your time frames, be sure to consider various dependencies that could affect the flow of the work. Dependencies are crucial in a project and in realistic timelines, and you don't want to let your colleague waiting for you to complete your portion of the project. And then we need also to consider environmental or weather concerns, contract agreements, supply chains, permissions. And we've seen the devastated event in Russia with that tsunami and the effect of a tsunami. So we need to take cognizance of the environment and the weather concerns. Coming back to schedule and budget, usually start with a detailed intricate before outlining generalized deadlines for preceding months or years. Define your milestones, but what's needed to get to that milestone, and are the milestones and phases realistic? Yeah, some of the projects can take several years to complete. It's hard to actualize the various dependencies and state of the project months in advance. But we need to get together and plan for that. And we need to accommodate any changes or unforeseen problems for distant time periods. So be prepared. Going forward in project and management process, background to the proposed work, describe a potential change, ideas and problems, where it fits into the wider business context, why it should be done now, and the implication of not doing it. What's the circumstances, the decisions, previous work that has led to this being process implementation document. This could make it clear what is the overall purpose of the project. The previous action decision led to the current position. Why it's needed to be done. Why should it be done? The end result of a project should be. What are the implications of not doing it? Stakeholder management. We've talked about stakeholder management just now, but it's very important to give your stakeholders a platform where they can communicate their expectations and show support to the project. It allows them to provide leadership to project leads and address any concerns. Consider assign representative from each department to communicate with the stakeholders and provide them with a progress report and routine. Coming back to Namibia, the government, also very important to keep them abreast. And you as team members also get the knowledge of what's needed, and we are used to every morning a toolbox talk and to say, this is a task, this is the teams, and what is the safety implications of the day's task and what's needed for the day. But beforehand, through the planners, what's needed for the next day and the coordinating of the work. We've checked this large-scale project and know what need to be done. And the statement of work, the project charter, what's needed in the project charter, the project scope, deliverables, risk issues, financials, the milestone schedules, the project team, target completion date, actual date, approval committee, the review committee. Very important to that is what's needed and the review process continuously through the process of and collaboration between the team members from executive management down to the tasks that's needed. So organize your workforce. Consider your organization capabilities before taking ambitious project. Choose an organization setup that allows for seamless flow of information and effective people management. Organization setup compromises a business executive at the top who has direct communication with project sponsors, representatives, and project owner. Very important to that. So get your the workforce in place and what's needed, the contractors and or subcontractors, and then identify the weak chains communication before starting the project so that you can recognize any issues before they become major problems. So therefore, we need to know the performance management, the priorities, the efficiencies, the goals, the time, the monitoring, improvement, scope, and the balance scorecard of the projects, small and big, and how do they contribute to each other. So we need to know who's the project team members and for the different projects, the different disciplines, and how do you coordinate all of these activities and not working in silos. So the workforce planning, the supply, the demand, the gap analysis, the action plan, delivery, engage of the stakeholders. All of these are very important in the workforce planning going forward. So crucial project roles and their responsibilities. Successful projects are the result of careful planning and collaboration between the whole team. This is very important. Careful planning, collaboration between the whole team. And be familiar with the key figures within the project entails research, but is a valuable piece of knowledge that helps to ensure the smooth operation of the projects. So we need to know what is a fundamental project roles and what is the business goals and what is the key figures to perform the important tasks. Remember, this is for a small project or a mega project with many projects within it, sub-projects. Communication and interpersonal skills, very important to that. Communication is one of the key responsibilities project managers, leads have because it allows them to easily work with teams or individuals who have an interest in the project, either as stakeholders or team members. So successful project leads have a high level of attention to detail and strong organization skills to ensure the project remains on schedule and within budget. So therefore, we need leadership. As a project lead or manager, it's likely that you lead individuals with different levels of experience and skill sets. So you need to know it and take cognizance of it. Thanks to your strong leadership skills, you can make others feel more comfortable with your role as project lead and motivate them to complete their task on time. So if we look at the construction project manager or project lead, what is the primary duties to that? Construction managers oversee all stages of a building process. Their usual schedule often involves working in an office and visit building sites. They will make sure all construction professionals can deliver their work on time. Very important to that. So most project leads in construction work closely with the architects, engineers, and investors. I'll say that is a must. that they need to work closely with the architectural engineers. What is the engineering project manager, project lead? The engineering project lead oversees the daily work of the engineering team, work closely with the engineers, designers, manufacturers to implement the project and oversee all phases of manufacturing development of projects. So this is also very important. The manufacturers, they need to be identified and in timely qualified to the quality standards that you want and what you need to approve. So we need project leads with extensive knowledge in the engineering environment and terminology, but also in the construction environment, the different disciplines that we need there and the different type of people that we need. So therefore, we need the integration of tasks from a contract management, human resources, design, engineering, construction, licensing, commissioning, quality, safety, environment, planning and control, administration and financing. So therefore, the sub-project management, resource management, process management, cost management, collaboration and communication. What's happening on a construction site from day one and the process going forward, and how do you coordinate all of these activities? Doesn't matter if it's a nuclear plant or a hydro plant or a dam or buildings that you want to build. All of that is applicable. So coming back to Mozambique, the Mozambique Energy Program, the future energy security of Mozambique, with the sites. So what is needed to roll out, for instance, the 29 Mozambique nuclear plants? But over and above that, what is the non-nuclear infrastructure needed for the country in rolling out, and what's needed for electricity generation in that country? So think for yourself and let us know what is the answer. So therefore, we need for the energy in the country, the MHDR 100. There's one with a reactor and a steam generator, a module with two reactors and steam generator, two modules with the total plant of MHDR 100. So therefore, we need to know what is the strategic analysis, the task environment, the industry, the internal, the functional strategies, the business strategies or corporate strategies, the goal objectives, the natural physical environment, societal environment, and how does it fit into the strategic plan? How does it fit into the management plan? How does it fit into the management of supply and demand? And how does it fit into with HR? So what is the strategic plan? What is the roadmap? What is the performance plan? So all of these are necessary in your definition of going forward in a mega project. So getting to big projects and to be satisfied and to be part of the completion of that project and to see it is successful. So team, I've tickled your brain and that you can think of what is necessary in a mega project. Thank you, Mani. Thank you, team. And over to you.
Good sound check, Gerrit.
Can you hear? We can close
Good.
down. Thank you.
Good, thank you. We can close down. We say thank you very much, Gerrit, for the session today. And to everyone in the room, much appreciated, and enjoy your day, rest of the day. Thank you.